FNAF's nightmare animatronics are something else. Being the scariest versions of the animatronics was already a feat, especially after the disappointment the community had with FNAF 3. But sometimes being the scariest still isn't enough. That's definitely the case with this community anyway. So, the fans took to DeviantArt and amino apps to create an even more unholy abominations of probably the scariest nightmare animatronic, Fredbear. And those versions are what we're exploring today. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Connor Monroe and this is the Top 10 Scary FNAF fan alternate versions of Fredbear. Let's do it. And at 10, Dismantled Fredbear. Dismantled Fredbear is an antagonist in the main attraction in the FNAF fan game, Fredbear's Fright. Dismantled Fredbear appears to be a slightly withered version of Fredbear from, the main FNAF games, except not Nightmare Fredbear, normal Fredbear. Fredbear's appearance is also slightly similar to that of Dismantled Spring Bonnie from that game as well, although with a purple hat and tie and a darker brown coloration for his suit. Due to being a springlock character, he also has 5 fingers on each hand, but only has 4 toes on each foot. But I mean, I guess animatronic feet are bigger than human feet. His right eye is also broken and hangs open, and the suit covering his extremities seems to have scattered holes. There are also presumably blood stains on his teeth, and that's probably because of the bite of 83 that we see take place in FNAF 4, which presumably causes the springlock suits to get discontinued and then deemed unfit for employees. This thing, while not horribly destroyed, is still off-putting. And at 9, Shadow Fredbear. Shadow Fredbear is one of the 2 primary antagonists in Final Night's 2 Sins of the Father. Shadow Fredbear is almost perfectly intact, only burnt black in color. He has a few rips on his body though, and is missing his left hand. The area around his mouth also appears to be torn slightly as well, revealing a majority of his endoskeleton teeth. His teeth and eyes also glow, which makes him easier to see. Imagine though, if this animatronic had actual gums. If he did, that would probably be the scariest thing that you could ever see. The absolute monstrosity that would have been created just by giving Shadow Freddy gums is horrifying. My genius is sometimes petrifying. But nonetheless, this is still creepy without the gums. Especially because this dude is so powerful that he replaces most of the other animatronics on Night 5 of Final Nights 2. But if you saw the whole Final Nights list, you already know all about Shadow Freddy. Link's up there. Click it. I hope it's that corner. And at 8, Fixed Nightmare Fredbear. Fixed Nightmare Fredbear is something that I never wanted to see. For some reason, he reminds me of my uncle if he was a yellow animatronic robot bear, but it's not in an insulting way. I'm not saying he's big or anything. I can't really put my finger on why. He just reminds me of him. It's fine, he's rich. Anyway, Repaired Nightmare Fredbear is just what you'd expect, unless it's the one that just is covered in band-aids and paper to fix his eyes and teeth. That one's actually pretty funny. However, it had to be Fixed Nightmare Fredbear because Fixed Fredbear is just a slightly darker Golden Freddy. I don't really know what it is about these repaired animatronics that makes them so creepy. Maybe it's the fact that they're just more realistic, or that it could in theory actually exist. I mean, if you're going by the many worlds theory, there is already a world where FNAF is real, and there is a world where each FNAF fan game is real. I mean, there is a world where I am personally fighting William Afton. Yet there is also a world where I am William Afton. None of them are this world though. Yet I still find these repaired animatronics to just be wrong. And at 7, Fred Trap. To be honest, I searched this up just for the hell of it, and there are actually Fredbear versions of Springtrap. Fred Trap is exactly what you'd expect. Springtrap's look on a yellow Freddy animatronic. The designs are actually really well made, and honestly are scarier than normal Springtrap to me. I think that Scott made William use the Spring Bonnie suit because of how scared Scott himself was of Bonnie, but that could just be idle speculation. There are also even more rundown versions and even scrap versions of Fred Trap, which are already haunting when you don't think about the fact that it would still be William inside the suit being kept alive by the spirit of a dead kid. And not even the first one. But whatever. Fred Trap is definitely one of the more unique versions of Fredbear I saw for this list, and I'm pretty damn impressed. And at 6, Realistic Fredbear. Now, looking up Realistic Fredbear will not yield this result on Google Images. This was found using the keyword Stylized Fredbear, but after looking at this bear on the Big Blue House wannabe, I felt Realistic Fredbear was the best name for it. Created as a commission by DeviantArt user Trike Vinang Studio, this perfectly describes my worst nightmare come to life. No joke, I had a dream where I was on a date with this girl, and I go to take a shower, but when I'm done, I get dressed and ask her what head I should wear, and reveal to her, and I guess myself, that I am part animatronic. No joke, that's actually a dream I had. This is what this channel has done to me. This is what you have done to me. None of you clicked on that Minecraft video, okay? Every FNAF video keeps doing well, so I have to keep making them. This is what you're doing to me. Do you not understand? And this thing just feels like it would be in that world. This furry animatronic is absolutely terrifying in the worst of ways. Like, not even like so terrifying that it's good. Like, please, for the love of God, don't make this a real animatronic or I will puke. Halfway through and at number 5, Scrap Fredbear. Scrap Fredbear is probably the most unique design for a scrap animatronic that I've seen. Most other scrap animatronics have Scrap Baby's claw as a main feature. However, this one is incredibly horrific in the best way. One has a buzzsaw for a hand, which is very badass, but the others have severe withering on the legs and around the stomach, and they all include that signature stomach mouth, of course, since Nightmare Fredbear is the scariest nightmare animatronic, aside from the one just literally called Nightmare, which is just an inverted Nightmare Fredbear anyway. The big withered left hand and the stars coming off of him just make him look more menacing. Like if Nightmare Fredbear was an elementary school teacher who just loved giving out gold stars, but then was corrupted by whatever these incredibly underprepared kids are gonna have to deal with in the horror movie. Like, I came out of high school not knowing anything about actual life, but you expect a group of 5 kids to take down some horrific otherworldly being? Like, who are they, Phineas and Ferb? And in 4, Demented Fredbear. Now, it could be my search history, however, when looking up the word Demented on Google Images, the first thing Google recommended to me was Demented Fredbear. And looking at it, I can see why. Demented Fredbear is what Nightmare Fredbear should have been in my opinion. The exterior isn't as torn on the torso, and instead keeping the tearing mostly at the joints and extremities, and overall, the appearance just seems more aggressive and bloodthirsty. Some iterations of this character even have tongues coming out of both mouths. You know, the mouth on his face as well as the famous stomach mouth that makes us think that Crying Child saw Elizabeth get scooped. Yeah, they have tongues now. Demented Fredbear's nails are also extremely long and very sharp, easily being able to tear through flesh or dig back down to the pits of hell from which it came. This is actually so well made that I moved it up from its original position. It was at number 6, but I feel like number 3 is more realistic, even if it's not at number 3 now, it's at number 4. It was at number 6, but I feel like number 4 is more realistic, even if realistic Fredbear was pretty damn horrifying, but for a completely different reason. And at 3, Sinister Fredbear. Ah yes, the Funtime Freddy list was missing a Sinister animatronic, but here we are with Sinister Fredbear. Had the game released, Sinister Fredbear would have been one of the most terrifying Sinister animatronics in the game. I don't know what makes this character so terrifying, but nevertheless, holy sweet niblets Miley Ray Stewart, is this thing gonna give you a scare. While there really is only 1 or 2 pictures of Sinister Fredbear because, you know, the game didn't actually release, you can already get a sense of how terrifying this animatronic would have been. With the classic Sinister teeth, which at this point are basically signature, and the more toy-like appearance to his casing, this guy would have made the game unplayable for me. I already try to avoid the Nightmare Fredbear level in FNAF VR because I don't want to deal with him. I mean, like, I don't play much FNAF VR, but when I do, I stick to Pirate Ride because I don't want to deal with Nightmare Fredbear, so Sinister Fredbear would have just been a deal breaker. I didn't even know he was meant to be in the game. I would have seen it and just turned it off. I wouldn't even have played it, let's be honest. Penultimately, in at number 2, Twisted Fredbear. Twisted Fredbear has to be one of the worst creations known to man. Not in an it's so bad it's scary kind of way, but in an oh my god, what twisted mind could have created this unholy monster from the deepest pits of hell kind of way. Twisted Fredbear takes everything that makes the twisted animatronic scary and adds in to Nightmare Fredbear. From boils all over to extra sharp teeth and claws, some even have a tongue coming out of the stomach mouth, but like an actual tongue, not like the other one. Like if it was a human tongue coming out of the stomach mouth, which is just wrong on so many levels. Some people also made the joints teeth, which is just a whole other can of worms that I'm not even gonna get into. And these all just make me want to crawl into a hole and die. Like, I'm horrified by the amount of creativity, I'll say, to come out of the FNAF community. Like, we need like a community pot for money for therapy or something, because clearly a lot of us could use it. Like, not in a bad way though, but clearly there are some repressed issues that are coming to light. Finally, in at number 1, Slasher Fredbear. Slasher Fredbear by DeviantArt user PlayStation Jedi is an unholy abomination that must be stopped. I've talked about the Slasher animatronics before, particularly in the Bonnie alternate versions list. However, Slasher Fredbear is so much worse. He may not have a shotgun axe guitar, but oh my god. Let me read the description of this animatronic in the words of PlayStation Jedi himself. Ahem. Quote, "The largest and strongest of all slasher animatronics, Slasher Fredbear is an unstoppable force with enhanced strength and durability. Fredbear is capable of smashing through walls, withstanding lots of punishment, and grabbing heavy objects and throwing them across the room. While Fredbear uses his great strength to pick up and rip people in half, if he needs a quick kill, he can extend a blade mounted to his wrist to cut through people like butter. Or if he needs a ranged attack, he can use his 2 wrist-mounted LMG guns. Fredbear can switch between these weapons on the fly, either using 2 LMGs or 2 blades on each wrist." What the actual LMG, by the way, stands for light machine gun. Jesus ever-loving Christ, this is going to make me cry myself to sleep. Not to mention the spikes covering his body, or the incredible amount of blood that is just soaking into him, covering him from head to toe. This dude has light machine guns on his wrists. There we have it, friends, the top 10 scary FNAF alternate fan versions of Fredbear. Which versions of Fredbear are the scariest to you, and what animatronic should we cover next? Be sure you let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.